당저 장주 남드 가서래 지춘시 림치기 안에 송비게 람림 안 냠고르세나래 람림 뒤뒤 마 안디 고수거와 얘네 자당저 그신 쉬야디 아제름지기 안에 상유 좀된디기 구송 투숨기 연대다 연대대하다 안에 지게 되네 야 안에 상유 좀된디기 마 송시비 되디기 디 공부때다 지진 쳔배 야다 개와 쳔바 안디 안에 마 신도 소지 공부루다 파파 토멸라서 비기 구송투기 연대 대신벽 터네 안에야 지가 제름 배치기 하는 건들이야 안에 고성구비권에 차사와래 선 차사의 것이 자다 되네 인자 나가주이네 안델이야 아니 그지 디게 제름치게 되네 건들이야 고성 투숨 연전 대벽권에 차사와디 안조 랍제 가르팅 거르답나 나가주이네 덤바 덤비다 안에 인지든 제매양다 개와 제말라서 봐다 공부루나 토멸라서 비 코노기 코노존남기 구성 투숨이 연대의 제 안 대바제주 제제 안 코로나주기 송비게 안 지게 안 람디게 장주 람드인들이야 만주기 안 퇴섬검숨 안 수신의 제고래서 온도스 랍지틴단 거래서 그신 디고 쉬루아다
Good morning. Last week in the previous two sessions, we started to look at this text by Lama Tsongkhapa called either the Songs of Experience or the Short Lamrim. It has these two names. So in the verses that we looked at, we saw Geshe Rabten first. He recalled the qualities of the Buddha's body, speech and mind, and then offered prostrations to these qualities of the Buddha. Thereafter, he called to mind the qualities of the two lineages and their lineage masters. Those are the lineages of the vast and the profound, with their founding lineage masters coming from Buddha Shakyamuni, down the vast lineage coming down from Buddha Shakyamuni through Maitreya to Sangha, and the profound lineage coming from Buddha Shakyamuni through Manjushri and Nagarjuna, as well as their subsequent students. And again, Lama Tsongkhapa, then having generated great faith in their qualities, as well as admiration and respect for all that they have done for sentient beings, he offered prostrations, he paid homage to them. So the purpose of Lama Tsongkhapa composing these 4 verses was not just for himself, but for us, for his students. The meaning we are encouraged to take from these expressions of homage are to firstly recall the great qualities of body, speech and mind of the Buddha, as well as the great qualities of his spiritual children, and recollecting the tremendous benefit and great kindness that has come from all of them, as well as having great faith or confidence in their qualities. We then ourselves offer homage to them, and this has several purposes. Opens our mind, generates inspiration, generates a curiosity, a desire to hear the teachings and delve into them with our intellect in order to gain transformative experience. So this was the purpose for our behind Geshe Rabten composing these opening 4 verses.
안에 되네게 상유 점는 디기 안에 가와 빠도 매바 안에 니마 다 당보 상예 말에 당보 알아서 나시지 제자 되네자 상유 점는 디기 매중 안 잠니 제콤 안 람려야 냠는 제네 가와 빠도 매바 냠는 제 되네 냠는 제 발에 되네 상유 고바토 내 상유 고바토니 안에 알아서 주게 셈제 탐제 알아서 제 알아서 셈제 탐제 동하다 다나 셈비게 제와다 섬전 탐질에 디기다 된다 셈베 잠바다 지요 공기 나주게 섬전디 동아세야다 디기 주에게 탑람 아니 최 빠도 몇 번 요래시로다 제가 되는 송바디 나네 지진 쳔배야다 아니 지마 제와 잠바니기 마 공바테 안델라티네 아니 파고 토메다 루르미기 아니 게치가 남기는 배 냠는 제다당 ane samotongbanyi tawi nyamlen jetang koran komo dinegi papa tomeda komo luru yisungware dine sungbenan diniga geda jachiwe lamnirin badang ane kasore donebe tongbanyi namshagi nyamlen jetang rimba niga chasangwa chi changla manhowa sewu chigi ane kasore ganzu jochigi ma lamdren nalma dujine 두두신 송샤바데 네도 송마레 제가 되는자 안 되는게 송부게 남ren 제법어 좀 안에 제게 그때 전시비 토네 안 될이야 안에 차차제 하는 아주게 차차위 아주 냠는 제와다 가르스는 자주 남ren이야 퇴섬 검숨 제제 냠는 제 후레사지 그래서 디고 마슈 사셔라
Moreover, Rinpoche composed these 4 verses so as to remind us that the being that was to become Buddha Shakyamuni was at one point no different from any of us. He was an ordinary being with a mind that was dominated by afflictions. But in dependence on hearing the Dharma and reflecting the Dharma, he made tremendous effort to transform his way of thinking, to transform his mind. And through this, he generated the mind of definite emergence, coming to see that samsara is pervaded by suffering. Moreover, he took this understanding in relation to himself and applied it to others, generating love and compassion for all others lost in the realms of samsara. And in dependence on generating love and compassion, bodhicitta arose within the being that was to become Buddha Shakyamuni. And he entered the paths of the Mahayana, where he continued to train with great vigor, eventually attaining Buddhahood. And his attainment of Buddhahood was a culmination of countless eons of endeavor for the sake of others. Now, having arisen as a perfected being, completely freed of all faults and attained all good qualities to the level of perfection, he then continued to enact deeds for the sake of others. And he did this primarily through teaching the Buddha Dharma, the complete and unmistaken paths to be cultivated within the minds of his students in order to also become freed of suffering and achieve lasting, stable happiness. And in this way, he taught a tremendous number of teachings. Then, amongst his students, there were 2 who emphasized the teachings on the one hand of the vast teachings, and this was Maitreya, and another Manjushri who emphasized the profound teachings in terms of what was explicitly emphasized, but also the other would have been implicitly emphasized. Then, centuries later, their spiritual sons took up these lineages, a Sangha taking the lineage of the vast, started by Maitreya, continued by Maitreya from the Buddha, and Nagarjuna continuing the lineage of the profound that had come from the Buddha through Manjushri. And here then, recognizing that these incomparable beings were once like us, but through taking these teachings, we're able to actualize them within their continuum, and thereby these 2 lineages that exist in the world exist in a way that is complete, or the meaning that's within them is complete and unmistaken, and therefore we can rely on it. And this is the meaning for us here, that through us relying on these teachings, through hearing them, reflecting on them, meditating on them repeatedly over a sustained period, we too will transform our minds in the same way that these great beings have done.
지난다 제름치기 기회 신인 남길라 안차사들이 지난 기회 신인 남나 차사야디 지난 장주 남ren지 안에 야치외 남리린 바나 안에 삼부동방이 냠ren지에게 차사데 도당 땡주나라 송샤게 수뒤뒤신 마세우시우 송샤바디 안에 기회 신인 남게디 코로나주기 냠솔레 안에 냠솔레 쟁아솔야 안에 지게 마 롭된제네 람드윈 고마 나지 롭된제세 치겐다 기위신네 어디 되설야네 기위신이 그지 전시베 토네 엄델이야 아니 그 류가 있음이고네 네 자세와레 세지 되셔야 디고셔야다
And this morning we'll continue with the next verse. And here, Geshe Rinpoche offers homage to his spiritual teachers. And he does so through recollecting that recalling their qualities of body, speech, and mind. And in particular, that the teachings that they have given have been able to lead to his spiritual development. And that he has been able to, in these graduated stages of the path to enlightenment, been able to encompass all the meaning of the sutras and their treatises, or the commentaries to the sutras. And this is the way that his spiritual teachers have trained, and he has trained in the same way, following their example, following their guidance. And in this way, in this manner, he offers praise to his teachers. In the fifth verse, you are the eyes seeing the mirrored collections of scriptures. You clarify the supreme entranceway of the fortunate traveling to liberation. Through skillful means stirred forth by compassion, I pay respectful homage to you, my spiritual mentors.
Rabjam sungrab kun la tawi mik se Rabjam sungrab kun se da Rabjam sungrab kun la de Rabjam la be gyachim se go da Rab gyachim da gar gyachim bo so sungrab gyachim bo so sanji gi gaje simjang ga so simjen dunga da da na digi tube ke tablam sung be chogor gyachim bo shu chu go re je sungrab Rabjam sungrab se ne gyachim bo shu chu go re se na desu gi gongba ma de je umboluru da papa thomela so bada de ne lobe dawa da bal so kono kya khebi gi pandu namki gomba thebi gi di gonte be ma se kya chen bo yo re so jisa rabjim sungrab kun se de jisa sanji yu sung cha bi gi do da yu kya chen bo shu je ba je de se gi gonte kya gi pandu namki ane gomba the shi bi gomba be ma se kya chen bo shu yo re je rabjim sungrab kun la de se gi tuen cha sang je ha ko ya la 맞죠. 가르다고서는 람르를 때는 하고 두고 그래야지. 그래서 람르 세디 믹나 믹리에서 온다. 가르 믹리에서 나중에 믹을 때는 믹이 되게 숙차상 통투고요. 맞나? 그래서 람르를 때는 마저게 냠는 제바 있나? 상지에게 손집에 손럽 개천보다 디 공대기 결혼 번 자갈케 번지다 남기 공부 제시 공대 차상교 뒤에 군기 하고 해야지 람르 냠수 렘발 제베나 람르 하고 두고 그래. 제가 람르인데 아니 가서 이게 rabjam sungrab kunye tawi mix de lamdron la ko kore.
The first line, you're the eyes seeing the mirrored collections of scriptures. The mirrored collection of scriptures refers to the vast number of teachings that Buddha Shakyamuni gave over his lifetime. And these, and you are, the you here refers to the lineage of realized beings that came to study, reflect, and meditate on these teachings, and in this way came to realize them. Specifically, it's referring to the great masters of the past, such as Nagarjuna, Nasanga, and Atisha. But it's referring to the entire lineages of the vast and the profound that have been brought to then have been brought together in Tibet by Lama Atisha. So that's who he's directly praising here. And this term, you are the eyes seeing. So eyes seeing here can be understood in a couple of ways. The word for seeing can also mean realizing. So it indicates here eyes seeing, so seeing the text, but also realizing the text. In other words, their minds have been transformed into independence on the hearing, reflecting, and meditating. And moreover, a further way to understand eyes seeing is that the text, the root text that all the Lamarum tradition comes from is Atisha's text called Lamp on the Path. So the lamp is like the eyes that illuminate the path to enlightenment. So here, it's making Also, this reference, eye seeing, this term eye seeing, also refers to the root text of the Lamrim tradition, the lamp for the path to enlightenment.
제가 대위 믹스 rabja sonro kunla 대위 믹스 되 제가 디니 자 가르스네 상유 쯤된 이 송셰비 두지야 남 탈바다 탐제 김비 동아 세탑다 안에 델레 동아를 트네 탈바다 탐제 김비 토비 탑람 쳐서 너나 댄셔바다 대상기 디 공바 이 본주의 주 공바 제셰비 된다 인보 쳐서 다 람전 나라 송샤여로 뒤뒤지네 람전 나라 송여로 지산 람전나 송반자 람전을 냠술련 바이나 냠 제바이나 디차상게 된다다 하고 두고여 바자 안 다위 미익세지로와 다위 믹스야디 디로와다 지산 다위 믹스야디 가르스나 랍점 더다 더제 안 상주 송베 더다 데니기 공부 되게 공부되고 개갈 번주나 공부 제셰비게 된다 인보데 가르스네 탈바다 탐지 kimbo drebe jibe tablam di den shero wa da di ma do yo semje dungha ne se ya da dungha je da digi drebe tablam di den shero wa 탈바 탐지 kimbo drebe tablam den shero di chasan den da ningbo ja che wa shu song di chasan du ji ne den da ningbo ji du ji ne lamren na lo song shero wa chasan lamren nyamlen che ba ina di chasan hago tu go 탈바 탐지 kimbo drebe tablam nyamlen je tang ganes jogo ganes ba chasan hago tu go za 지산 따위 믹스 믹되네 밀레되네 차상 통투야다 하고 두고로디 야고도 야고는 차다 밀레되나 통두고 디나시 람들 냠는 제바이나 람들 때네 탈바다 탐지킨 보고방 투비 탑람 차상 하고 두고로디 인자 람들들 따위 송럽군라 따위 믹스 송럽군이 된다 인보다 하고야게 람들 때네 하고 두고에서 람들 따위 믹스 송럽디와
So to re-express the meaning of the first line, it's here it's making reference to all those great masters from India who came to see or to realize the meaning or the vast array of the Buddha's teachings, all of which present the complete and the unmistaken path to attain complete freedom from suffering, liberation, as well as to be able to achieve the state of perfection, the perfect happiness of Buddhahood. So it refers specifically to these beings who have come to realize the entire path of the Buddha Dharma, and then have presented it in this condensed manner in the Lamrim tradition, where the entire array, or the myriad collections of scriptures, this perfect and unmistaken path leading to enlightenment, have been presented in a condensed manner and in the correct and unmistaken sequence of trainings that lead to enlightenment.
아디네 가상 타버 주비 중앙 초스데 다 가상 타버 주비 중앙 초스데 가상 랍나 쇠남레 덴바 다 쇠남 여대가 타바다 탐지 캠바 냠렌지게 쇠남 여대게 만에 데니기 안에 데 쇠남 여와제 타바다 탐지 캠바 토베게 냠렌지게 동일기 듬바여해 지나 타바스네 데네 타바 토야게 타바 토구도 셈베게 데네 듬바여해 냠렌지게 진 여바나 데니기 냠렌지게 가르스네 다 상이기 송셰베게 그 기부숨기 람기 가서레 냠렌지게 림바디게 아니 중호 초레세 다당 덴주에나로 송셰베게 타바 탐제 캠비게 토블 네 토예 람 냠렌기 림바치여와 어디 다 타바 되바는게 될이야 타바 탐지기 먹고 방 토에기 중호래서 중호라네 람가서 람가 야친 거서 완전한데 멜런조서 람가 디리에서 람가디 마도 멜리 두고 디나시 타바다 탐지기 배상이 송송이 람 냠랭이 리바티 다 아니 디 아니 델라 되냐 타바 톱지기 되냐게 다 되냐 듬바여바다 디 냠랭지가 쇠놈이 여긴 디길이야 대수그 냠랭지게 중호들이에서 조사게 람가 냠렌지에게 람갈마 손나 디레스 중호데레스 다 기보숨게 람이림바 쓰고래 다 중호레스 제사디 디 냠렌지에게 림바디 가와동에서 람드 나마 세고 쉬우지마 송샤레 제사 람드데 타버트비 중호 람 띵비게 람 띵켄게다 용 초도 유바디레스 람드데
The second line, you clarify the supreme entranceway of the fortunate traveling to liberation. This term then, fortunate, this refers to those who have great merit. When we see this term fortunate referring to people, understand that it means those who have great merit. And the merit then serves as to direct and power them on their spiritual journey. So it's specifically having great merit in that context. So such beings who are fortunate, due to the power of this great merit, they are traveling to liberation and have done so through passing through the supreme entranceway. So we can understand that, for example, in the past, when we were allowed to travel to Melbourne, we would go on a particular route, either by rail or on the road, and there would be a particular route, one correct route to arrive there. So this here is in our context, this entranceway is the lamp for the path to enlightenment, the text by Atisha. And that is the text that condenses the entire sequence of trainings that need to be undertaken in order to attain liberation and enlightenment, freedom from suffering. So the entranceway is this text, or this Lamrim tradition, one can also say. The entranceway is the lamp for the path lamp on the path to enlightenment, or the Lamrim tradition. And not only is it the entranceway, but it's what one utilizes throughout one's progression of spiritual training or whilst traveling on one's journey. And here, those who are the fortunate can refer to both the propounders in the first line as well as those who are embarking on this journey.
Ngejung jasam yang de be dawa sum ruwa jesa ngazo tarba thugu ne ngejung gom ne de ne jimba de chujun la so ba yang da be dawa nyamlen je ne tarba thugu ruwa da sanje tarbe cho sanje go bon thugu ne ngazo ge ngejung yule ge de ne jashu sem gom de ne ada be dawa dongyu du be shara gom dor de na dine ne jimba de churu se ba zun la so gom gu le ne da ngazo ge chu du ja ba ne ngejung jasam yang da be dawa sum bo di 당아주기 타바드비기 타바에 야조에기 냠렌제게 람디디레도 와다 디냠렌 제바는 아주 타바 토투고 제가 데니기 중원 디레에서 타바드비 중원 데 되녀기 좀 타바 토쿠도 셈베 되녀기 좀 여바다 안 델야 냠렌제게 쇠남 여행디게라 안 데수 냠렌제 림바 람디디레스 제가 데 냠렌제나 타바 탐식이 먹고 토투고 그래서 제가 예중 자서 양다 베따위 따와 숨보디 되는 아주게 장주 람른 나라야 세우시우시 송샤야 제자 타바드비 중호 초세 람른 타바드비 중호 데카르스는 예중 자서면 따와 숨디시 초세디 데숨 마노와 마추바 차상 용수 조바시 덴바인자 람른디 덴바자 람른디 초레세지
And to further understand the second line then, so there are two primary goals in the Buddha Dharma, that of liberation from cyclic existence, attainment of nirvana, and that of Buddhahood, the state of complete perfection. In order to achieve those goals, one has to progress along a particular spiritual path. One needs to develop particular mental paths. The entranceway to the path that leads to liberation is the generation of definite emergence, as well as the continued cultivation of the correct view. And it's these two that lead to liberation. It's these two that are the mental paths that lead to liberation. For those who have a determination to become a Buddha for the sake of others, in addition to generating definite emergence and training the correct view, they have to also generate bodhicitta. And it's the generation of bodhicitta and definite emergence, which is their entranceway to the mental paths that lead to enlightenment. And the continued development of bodhicitta, as well as the correct view, the wisdom realizing emptiness, as well as in the background, including the trainings in the 6 perfections. but it's these that are the mental pathways that are to be continuously cultivated that lead to the destination of Buddhahood. So the entranceway then, in our context of the path to enlightenment, is the generation of definite emergence and bodhicitta, which lead to the attainment of the Mahayana Dharma, the Mahayana paths within one's continuum. And to attain this entranceway, one engages in all the practices that are set out in the correct sequence, that are set out in the lamp on the path. And it's for this reason that the lamp on the path is referred to as supreme. So the entranceway is towards the supreme goal of Buddhahood. And that entranceway is engaged in through the supreme tradition of the Lamrim, as exemplified in the supreme text of the lamp on the path to enlightenment. So this is a further way that the fortunate would understand this text, this line. The fortunate being those who possess great merit.
마도 마셰바 제 기부 등다 기부 침배 남냠는 지다 마셰바 슝카셰 나라 기부 중요에 남рем바 냠는 지다 지부시 돼야지 가셰 나라야 즉 탈바 토비에게 기부 등게 남냠바 지부시 마도 태바 침비기 취유고 마셰바 되는 걸와 슝카셰 나라 난 태바 침비기 취유기 냠는 지다시 근데 기부 등다 되고 마셰바 되는 걸와 기부 침배 남냠바 셰셰 기부 등의 중요에 남냠 마셰바 되는 걸와 네 슝카셰 나라 도장장시는 아이고 마셔봐도 용거로 슝카셰 나라 아이 냠는 지단 거시 뇌 냠는 지단 마셔봐도 용거로 아 람드은 디나라 가르손의 기부 중요의 람이리베 냠는 지단 안에 기부 등게 람이리베 냠는 지단 기부 쳔베 람이리바 기부 쳔베 나네 디나라야 안 도당 아니게 냠는 지단 차상와 땡샤바래 제가 중국어 될라 타버 드비게 탐지 김보고 토요게 탑름 될라 아주게 되니기 시기 여반 차상지 람드린 나로 송샤바자 람드린티 초래 세 초임바디 약쇼래 세지 김전로 디시고로다 그래서 람드린 나라 기부 중요 람지림바 딩게 람지림바 쳔베 람지림바 쳔베 나네야 도당 아니게 냠는 체다 차상지 송바 마노와 마주바 차상와 송바 인자 람드린디다 데니기 아주 타바드비게 냠는 지할이야 안 데니기 차상 땡시베 초도 규바데 세지 디스몰
It's important to understand why the text lamp on the path is being praised so, being implicitly referred to here as being supreme. The vast number of texts that have been composed all are part of the various texts that lead to one cultivating the required qualities to attain liberation and possibly enlightenment. Some of these texts, though, only present the trainings for beings seeking liberation and enlightenment, so beings of intermediate and supreme capacity. Some texts, though, don't talk about the achievement of full enlightenment, but will just present how to train in order to attain a good rebirth, so the trainings of a being of initial capacity, as well as then how to go on and train to achieve liberation from samsara, how to achieve nirvana, the trainings of a being of intermediate capacity. And here, in such texts, there's no reference to the Mahayana Dharma, the trainings that are unique to a practitioner of supreme capacity. So there is this variety, and there will also be those that just emphasize the trainings of a being of greatest capacity and don't make reference explicitly to the trainings of beings of initial and intermediate capacity. Moreover, many of those kinds of texts only refer to the sutra teachings of the Buddha and make no explicit reference to tantric teachings. Likewise, there are a great number of texts just on Tantra that make either very little or no reference to the sutra tradition at all. But here, in the supreme text, Lamrim tradition, the Lamp on the Path, the founder text to the Lamrim tradition, all the trainings that are shared with a practitioner of initial spiritual capacity, all the trainings of a practitioner that are shared with a practitioner of intermediate capacity, as well as all the trainings of a practitioner of greatest capacity, as well as reference to the tantric paths, are all included in the lamp on the path. Hence, it's referred to as supreme.
나디네 제외규비 탑게 제바 이스네 다 제외규비 탑게 제바 이스데 가르송으로서네 나 상유 줌nen디기 아는 아주기 셈체 동하다 자야다 디기 주에 탑라 망고 숭여로도 망고 숭여래 아네 제서 간에 숭바래람나 아네 상유 줌nen디기 아네 셈제 디기다 되나 셈비기 아네 셈젤이야 아네 잠바당 셈제 탐주 동하다 자나 셈비기 제와체 데니기 제원기 아네 제원기 아네 셈제 탐주 동하다 자다 디기 주에 탑람디 도데 망보시드네 소와래지 도다 기 빠도 메바 소와디 가르치는 셈제 동하다 자다 디기 주에 디기 주에기 동하다 자고도 셈비기 제와 잠바다 제원기 소와래스 마도 지게 랑 다던달라 잠바다 제원기 소와래스 디나신다 상이 유송샤비기 야가르 반룹당 대수기 개반남기 공제 망보 송샤바디기 대수기 있네야 하는 가르스네 마안 공부해야지기 안디 상이 유송샤비 탑람 디네 야고디 오네데 두샤 셈젠 탐젤레 디기데 대하다 디기 주야다 동화세 탑람 디네 야고도 제사 셈젠 탐젤 디네 야고 신나세 셈젠 탐젤레 잠바다 제원기 공부해와래서다 공부해와래서 제외규비 탑게 제바 이세데 제가 상이 유순비기 도데다 규다 빠도 메바 손야다 안디 공바 야가르기 번줍 공부루줄라소바게 아니 케반음기 공부제와 차상 안디네 코 셈젠라 디기 주야다 동아세야다 디기 주에 잠바다 제원거 손바냐야래지래 제외규비 대야 탑케바스로 탑케비 원게베 사 탑케바슈 된당 케바 감나 메바다 삼바다 튀비 토네 면도스 된 바래지고래
So it's for those reasons that, in particular, the lamp on the path, but the entire Lamrim tradition is praised because it presents the complete and unmistaken techniques for both liberation and enlightenment. Now, coming to our third line, through skillful means stirred forth by compassion. So here, we know that the Buddha taught a vast array of both sutras and tantras, and he gave each and every teaching in accordance with the varying capacities of beings. And he did so motivated by the wish for them to achieve lasting, stable happiness. In other words, motivation of love. And this was conjoined with the wish for them to be freed completely from suffering, a motivation of compassion. So this was the motivating intent behind everything that the Buddha did. And likewise too, this tremendous lineage of spiritual children who composed innumerable commentaries to the sutras, as well as commentaries to the tantras, both in India as well as in Tibet. These are all part of the pantheon of skillful means. These texts that have been composed by great masters, both in India and Tibet, motivated by their love. In other words, motivated by the wish for beings to achieve lasting, stable happiness. And also, conjoined with this, motivated by compassion, the wish for all beings to be completely freed from suffering. And thereby, all the texts, both whether they are the words of the Buddha or the commentaries to them, are included in skillful means, which are texts motivated by love and compassion, present varying aspects or the complete path to achieving good rebirths, liberation, and enlightenment. And this is the case whether these are texts, these are sutras and tantras from the Buddha, or commentaries to them by the great masters such as Nagarjuna, Sangha, Atisha, and so forth.
Then Sangye Jumden de da Yahagi Bandu Kebala Sobik and the Kirunamgi and the Duja Semjan Jambatan Ziyu Tone and the Ziyu Kone Semjan Dunga the Jad and Digi Taplam and the Lam Givosum Lam Yitimpi and the also Shabadi da Dene Georgi Kasu Georgi Georgi Palad Adishagi and Disuchasa the Ma Chik. Two duishin, Dunda Nimboti duishe, and the Ananga duishe, Lamdran Alma Sungo or Sumbares, Chesa Sawa Zeba, Sawa Sungores, Chesa Dia Sumba Dian, Georgi, Ansulia, Jambata, Zivi, Wongi, Sumbares, Chesa, Jamba, Georgi, Jambata, Simja Tamji Digida, Dana, Sembeke Jambata, Simja Dunga, the Chago Simbeke, Zawa, Jamzi, Wangi, and this Doda Yu, Diu Conte. And Bendigo Nangi Session Combat Sung Chasa Lam Yamling Rimba and Kivosum Lam Rimba to Duchen Pa Mazula Sawa Zebare, Sawa Sumbare, Zeba, City, Tabi Zebas. Salse, the new Tibetan. That Zewe Tabi Zeba, Salse, said the Nazuki, Deshi, Zewe di Tambodi, and Sanjeta Bendigo Nangi Charge. Niba that did Georgi and Sumbatea and Lamdana Duna Sumbatea, Jambata Zi Wangi, and Kivosumi Lamir in Bachaza, Dusha, Sewu Huchi, Sawa Sunyo Resid.
What we have in our translation in the second line, you clarify. Here, this is understood. The you refers to this lineage of great masters, that all the spiritual children that followed from the Buddha, starting with Maitreya and Manjushri, who presented the lineages of, in terms of Maitreya, the lineage of the vast, where explicitly taught the activities of the bodhisattvas, the conduct, and then the view was explicitly taught by Manjushri in the profound lineage, and both, though, included the other teachings in an implicit way. And then this lineage was continued in India through great masters such as Nagarjuna and Sangha, as well as their many realized students. Then these two lineages, so this is who the you refers to, and furthermore, the you also refers to Lama Atisha, because Lama Atisha brought these two lineages together. And these two lineages that have presented the vast practices as well as the profound practices in an explicit manner, he brought them together, presenting both in an explicit manner in his text, Lamp on the Path. And he did so motivated by love, motivated by compassion, wanting all sentient beings to attain complete freedom from suffering and pain, and lasting, stable happiness. So the term you clarify refers to the entire lineages, the entire lineage of spiritual children of the Buddha, who presented his teachings, continued his teachings in a complete and unmistaken manner, doing so motivated by love and compassion.
Di anang zo sangye chemden te ta kombo lu jubla so be koran zu gi ma an ki wo sum ge lam yirin be nyamlen te te ha jamba da ze wong ge sum ba re sa wo che jamba da ze wong ge tap ke tu ji to ne an chang la ma to sum yo re shi ji wa da ya tap ge ze we ge be tap ge ze ba sa ze ji san lam zhen na la ya an jo ji ge lam zhen na la cha sa de ne ge se wo sum wa de yang a zo le jamba da ze wong ge Dene sanji sun shebi ki dunda chasan nyingbo dudi ki osumye lam yirinba di lamdra nana sawa sun yore che. Chisan zewe gyebe tabki zeba ye salze sidu chi sanji dang ane kumbu lujubla sopa dang chisan lamdra sun kan ane dadi di juwa che koran su chasan ki che sun na di jamba dan zewe wongpina sun wale che kubu chasan di cha korwa.
Just to be sure it's clear, our third line and then the first two words of our second line. This then refers to all the spiritual children of the Buddha, from Maitreya and Manjushri, down through their students of Asanga and Nagarjuna, and their subsequent students. All these great Indian masters who kept presenting the Mahayana Dharma, or in fact the entire range of the Buddha's teachings, in a way that was unmistaken. And then these two lineages were, so this is the first group is all the great Indian masters that followed. This is you clarify, and they did so by love and compassion. And that's the skillful means through stirred forth by love and compassion. It also refers to Lama Atisha's text, Lamp on the Path to Enlightenment, because this unique text has brought together these two lineages, and Atisha did so also motivated by love and compassion. So that is the meaning then of the term, you clarify, as well as then our third line, through skillful means stirred forth by compassion.
Lam Kiwi Shin Nam Yang Lamdren Ma Song Yodu, Sonyadi, and Jambata Zewi, Marazul Tunga Tana, Samba, Digi the Tempas, Benazul, Jambata Zewi, Wonki, and the Kiwi Shin Digi, Manzolia, Lamdren Nano Sonship, Dundati Pass, Sewushu, which is somewhat is. Chisa Pemasi Bigeda, that's also Gwene, and Lama Tisugi, Kombulu Soba, the Tisut and animals, Shuman, Chesa Kiwi Shins and the Lamdren Digi, Lamdren to the new body, Mazu Yaya Kopshawa, Chesa Kiwi Shin, and Jambata and Zee, Wangi, Lamdren to the new body, Chasa, Marzul, Sewushu, Jenison, Taki, Tuji, Tony, Marzul, Sawa, Dumbate, Kiwi Shin, the Bemasecurity Chimbu Yins, and Delia, Kosongu Kone Chasa, Yins order, Saze, Shin Namla Kusha said.
And the verse concludes with, I pay respectful homage to you, my spiritual mentors. The spiritual mentors then being referred to here will be all these spiritual children of the Buddha who made great effort to hear, to reflect and meditate. In this way, independence on their knowledge, they gained experience, they gained realization of the Buddha Dharma. And independence on their own transformative realization that had come about independence on knowledge, they were then able to continue to transmit the lineage of the Buddha Dharma to their students, because they weren't just transmitting mere knowledge, but experience based on that knowledge, realization based on that knowledge. And in this way, the lineage of the Buddha Dharma has been kept alive, because the lineage of the Buddha Dharma isn't mere knowledge, it isn't mere words, but it's a transformation or realization come about in dependence on knowledge. And these realized masters continue to keep the Buddha Dharma alive through teaching their students, through guiding their students in their own individual spiritual developments, motivated by love and compassion, motivated by the wish for beings to achieve their full potential. And it's through their great kindness, their incredible endeavor, that we today have this opportunity, that Lama Tsongkhapa had this opportunity to receive this clear presentation of unmistaken and complete trainings that are being condensed in the path to enlightenment by Lama Atisha. So this is who and why he is offering prostration to here, when he refers to paying respectful homage to you, my spiritual teachers, my spiritual mentors. It's the whole lineage that has come before him, who have kept alive the trainings of the Buddha and presented it in this text, Lamp on the Path.
Jasa Dishi Jaju Lamren di and gewi sunrap chasange donda nibo hagoyala and mignashi stella in hago to resonwa ada indinashin dang to janju lamdren di janju lamdren nale sunshebi donda nimbo ding as hagoyala jugi 되 잠진고 남르게 되네 니봉아 싸워 되게 기비 신인디 쓸 때는 아주 하고 두고라 진짜 기비 신인디 저게 장주가 남르게 된다 닝보 냠는제다 하고 거야 미나신 제거를 믹스해야지
Now we can further understand this how the verse ends with the term spiritual mentors and how it begins with you are the eyes. Here we can see then, now that we've looked at the verse in its entirety, that it's our spiritual mentors who are being likened to the eyes who see or realize the mirrored collections of scriptures, because they have come to realize the meaning of the Dharma in dependence on their extensive hearing, reflecting, and meditating. And they are the ones who keep the Dharma alive through keeping it alive in their continuum, giving rise to it in their continuum. So here we can then see that you who are the eyes is referring to this lineage of spiritual teachers.
안 탈바다 탐지 김벽고 뭐 토에게 탑람배 마치 개침부 쉬송요레스 데니게 탑람디 안에 공부르다 파바 토메라서 바다 안지준 젬베 양당 안에 지준 젬베기 맹아라 데네 안 파바 토메다 공부르르티기 마 번르나기 마 싸워 송샤레스 데니게 싸워 송교디 안 차상 직개침부 쉬요바 차상 뒤치 닝보디 장주 람른 나라 송요레스 차상 안저 장주 람른 나라 Lobsang Dorje 퇴섬 곰섬 Lobsang 제바이나 디기 된다 닝보 차상다 하고 두고 그랬어. 진짜 디네 상가도 장주 람른지 냠는 숭바나 냠는 제바이나 될야네 아주 탈바다 탐지 김고 뭐 톡두고 그랬어. 진짜 탑람 야고 람 냠는 제에게 뺀마스 야고 쉬어랬어. 진짜 디 냠는 제바라야는 아주기 다 기위 신인 아주랴 기위 신인 잘때 기위 신인 잘네 이 장주 람른이 야 송제 망고 쉬 안디게 된다들 아니 돈에 야네야도 삼당 아니 디게 된다 하고 여도 안 될야 아니 곰잡제 어두스는 냠네 지고래 디네 제바이나 마주게 탈바다 탐지 힘벽고 뭐 투구레스 제자 디네 될야 안 아주게 베제제제 아니 전주게 냠네 지고래 기 침부레샤스 베 야고 디네 두 제자디 마주게 라렌타고 기 침부시우레샤 송고를 당한저 제름제
The purpose of composing this verse was to build on what had been expressed in the preceding ones, to generate great strength of mind and enthusiasm in the minds of his students. So through this verse in particular, Geshe Rinpoche has emphasized that it's through the skillful means of the various lineages of Maitreya and Manjushri that have been brought together or kept alive by so many great masters in India and brought together then by Lama Atisha in this supreme text, the Lamp on the Path, that we have the complete and unmistaken method, this greatest of skillful means in how to achieve our heartfelt wish, the complete eradication of suffering and the attainment of the state of perfection, the state of enlightenment. So this clearly builds on what has been expressed in the preceding verses, and what is being emphasized though in this fifth verse is that we need to have, what's emphasized in this fifth verse is we're building on our confidence in this lineage, going from Buddha Shakyamuni right to our spiritual teachers, have confidence in their guidance. Seek their guidance and follow it exactly as presented. In other words, hear their teachings, reflect on them, meditate on them, hear them repeatedly over a sustained period, reflect on them repeatedly over a sustained period, meditate on them repeatedly over a sustained period. And in this way, through following closely the guidance of our spiritual teachers, we will achieve our desired goal, full and complete enlightenment too. So here we are being exhorted to strive, to make great effort, to put the Buddha Dharma as presented by our spiritual teacher at the very center of our life, to take his instructions as presented in his teachings as the central meaning of our lives.
Di Chanchu Lamdrin said the kind of Shire Lamne, then the Shire said the Keshiro Sungorwa, then Zemlin Keba, Yon Yuzuki, Nibi Baden, Dona Hangawa, Luru Tome Nile Rimshindu, Legu Chanchu Lambi Rimbani said. Chanchu Lamdrin said the kind of Shire and then the Shire and the Chanchu Lamdrin Keshu Shigore that day.
Now, continuing then with the qualities of the path to enlightenment. You are the crown jewels amongst all the wise of this world. Your banners of renown flutter vibrantly amongst sentient beings. O Nagarjuna and Asanga, from you both follows the sequential, excellent lineage of the stages of the path to enlightenment.
That Zemlin Keba, Yon Yuzu Yan, that Zemlin Nalia. And then Chiki Kava, Nangbi Chu, then they get Lobsang Dorje, that they get Lobsang Kava, bottom of yours. Jizanda, Kava, you have been din Nani, Yada, Kumbulurupang, Papa Tomini said, Kava Chazangi, Ya, and ya Chiki Guba Zigur Chesa, and the Denigi Chodo Cuba, the S. Zemlin Kava, Yongi, Zugi, Jans, Chazangi, Ya, and Bene Zu said, Jiwo. 即我做些这个道路是台湾做一件，就像天那个件，天那车上给开发车上包都没包有的，车上给开发车上给，可能你别呀过，可能你开发修是可能你呀，那规矩些啥的，制度些啥，那这个车上给，那熬就些啥都吃过，也是我来公布。
Looking at the first line, you are the crown jewels amongst all the wise of the world. You then refers to all the wise. And so wise here, first let's look at wise. So wise, in English it doesn't translate so well, sometimes as learned, sometimes as scholar. The meaning is knowledgeable and realized. In other words, those who have realized the Dharma, independence on knowledge. That is the meaning of wise. So those who are counted here as the wise in the world, so you refers to all those who have come to have great knowledge on the stages of the paths to enlightenment and have actualized them within themselves, have gained realization of the paths to enlightenment within themselves. They are the wise. And they are referred to here with great reverence as being the crown jewels in this world. They are referred to with reverence as being incomparable amongst all those who have a knowledge and a realization. These are the crown jewels. These are the supreme beings in our world.
Papa Tomeni, 10 Yada Chemope, Master Coroni Cava, Tangone Sanyu Jumlendi, you combat Jijo de Coroni, Jizun Jambatan, and Yawa Jambatan, Jizun Jambe, Nila, Mengale, Dene, Coroni, Chazan, Tusu Chune, and then gave you Sanyi, Don Chesubi, that Chazan Corons combat Tusu Chu, and Coroni Tusu and Yamen, Yabanza, Denigi, 10 Yanda, and bad Yanda Chimbo. And the Baden Gabo said the Baden said to the Baden Nigeria said that Combalia Baden said you already Ninchi was said the Nigeria. That Gabriel and Baden said, yeah, Drusin Nalia Garshi, but read in the Ungudo red. Jesa, Denigi, Drusul Marjodi, read the Lungi days in Badruka Ruru, which is a Dinashin and Coronigi, Nyamshe Nebe, Nyamlengi, and Droasim Jantamgelia, and Pantoyungo, Jesa, Deniga Drona. Hanging was it by Sewu Shu, Zemlinalia, Droasim Chasangi, how to a Sewu Shu, Bendigo Chenakula, Saba Jong, Nam Yawu, Davachilia, Chikame, Mango, the Ine, Dawa Shadu, and told the Chasan Dawa Se Shuji. Dina de Carme so way, Mango, the Anzu Tonya Telebe, Dawa the Se Shuji Mombo was the Tondu Gorwa. Dina Jukumbulu, the Papa Tome Nibote, Jinanzuki, Doana, Pando Chicken, Yamlin, Shimba Sawa Dinking, and the Jona, hang over the Nigi, Se Shuji, yes, what that. Lulu Tome said, the Langa said, Lulu Tome Yin by that.
The second line, your banners of renown flutter vibrantly among sentient beings. As we see in our third line, your banners of renown, this refers to Nagarjuna and the Sangha. So Nagarjuna and the Sangha here are explicitly being praised. And why so? Well, they are renowned for not only their knowledge and their realization, but their propounding of the Buddha Dharma. And their propounding of the Buddha Dharma is what spread their renown, made them famous in the world, made them valid objects of reverence. And the term we have here, banners, first look at the term of banners. So this we can understand. We have banners at monasteries and Dharma centers, and sometimes we have flags. And so these have a symbolic meaning of relating to the Buddha Dharma. And when they're fluttering vibrantly, this refers to the spreading of the Buddha Dharma. And who more so than the Nagarjuna and the Sangha have been responsible for spreading of the Mahayana Buddha Dharma. So for this reason, they are being praised here. Your banners of renown flutter vibrantly. And for whom are there banners of renown or the teachings of the Buddha Dharma? They are for sentient beings. Another analogy often used for Nagarjuna and Sangha is in the dark of night. If there's no moon, the light that comes from stars, so that all those beings who are considered wise in the world, but not from the perspective of the Buddha Dharma, would be likened to the light coming from stars. One remains wandering around lost in the dark. But should the moon be full, then the light from the full moon would be likened to a Nagarjuna and a Sangha. And it's them who illuminate the darkness of ignorance. So this is another common analogy to use to praise Nagarjuna and the Sangha. Here we have the banners of renown that flutter vibrantly, meaning their realizations and their teachings based on that are spreading the Buddha Dharma, helping sentient beings attain freedom from suffering and pain.
Lekyu Janchu Lamye Rimbani said, Signidi. Jesa Janchu Lamrin said, Jesa that thing around the Dirwada, Luru Tome, Zimlin and the Caban, Chodo Cupare, Yakuchik, Sanjegi, that's one Shebiki, Duhada, Dun Tam Jan, and the Gasuchis in Jambayana, Yawa Jambani, Mengala, then the Corona Tusu Chune, Kava Chasangi Coronalia, Zudu Gurjanipa, Bishop Chesa Child, Eserwa. Dene Inza. Koronigi, Jeza, Sanje Chumden, the Masumbadi, Dunda Ingbo Chasang, Chizun Jembe, and Jawa Jembe Mengala, Dene, Koronigi Ma, Jig, Nyamlengi Rimbati, Geshe Lamye Rimbe Nyamle, and Samota, Tawa, Tombani, Tawi, Nyamle Cheta, Chasang, Sun Shabadi, Koronin Ma, Sun Shabadi, Denma Gujan, that imagine, Jeza, Georgigi, Lamdren Sunyagi, Dunda Ingbo Sunyadi. Koroni ma nyamne je rimba de gyushe ne ma koroni zen de dus leche de kasore joji gi lamren di dinar don da ning bo chen du shin song sha ba le je na tome lu tome ni le rimshin du je koroni ma gyu san ye jom de ne jawa jamba da ji je me yang de ma gyu ji kombo lu koron ji nyamne je ai de ma di nyamne je gi rimba di de ne la gyu se la ba de ma ji 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 de ma nyam ba ba ma che ba 차상와지 냠네 용아디 데니게 냠네 지게 냠네 림바디 다 자주 람지 림바 기부 숨게 람지 림비 냠는지를 뒤시는 람른 손시베 람른들이 해서 자주 람지 림바 인세다 람른들이 뒤에서 보다
And the verse concludes, O Nagarjuna and Sangha, from you both follows the sequential excellent lineage of the stages of the path to enlightenment. Here, the praise for them continues. We understand that the praise that Rinpoche is referring to here is not just from him, but from all the great masters that followed Nagarjuna and the Sangha. They all look back to them and offer praise for what they have achieved, both in terms of their realizations based on knowledge, but also their propagation of the Dharma, being banners of renown that flutter vibrantly for the sake of sentient beings. Nagarjuna and the Sangha were praised then by all subsequent masters in India. And it's through their endeavors that the lineages of the vast and the profound were able to continue in the world. And thereby, Master Atisha, who has now come from India to Tibet, he was able to combine these two lineages of the vast and the profound, combine them into the lineage of the Lamrim, into the lineage of the graduated stages to the path of enlightenment. That which is an excellent lineage. And this is what we see explicitly referred to in our fourth line. Follows the sequential excellent lineage of the stages of the path to enlightenment. So it's through the great endeavors for the sake of others of Nagarjuna and Sangha and all their subsequent students that Atisha was able to combine these two lineages of the vast and profound into the Lamrim, into the stages of the path to enlightenment, the most excellent of lineages.
다 제름 지게 가르sun 거라서네 제단 조지 송셰비게 장주 람른세디 디나리아 기부 숨게 람지림바 차상 냠네 제단 디 차상 송셰요레스 제단다 람른디 가소레 조조 코랑기 안에 직 샹쿵가에 매바치 송바레베센 디 마레스 쿵요레스 쿵 조지 손에 코르소스랑 다가 삼치를 셰샤바 레베슨 디 마레스 오래 제상 쿵요레스 쿵가와 두고레스네 제상 곰볼루르기 곰볼루르다 파바 토미니리아 코로니게 냠는 치니 냠리 림바 텔로 쿵도지 곰볼루르다 파바 토미니기 냠는 치다 림바 텔로 쿵도지 마안 람르기 소바레 예제레 파바 토메당 곰볼루르니기 냠는 지게 림바 소야 대야 아니 가로 쿵도고스네 제준 젬베야 난 야와 젬바니리아 텔레야 쿵도 콩이기 콩이 맹하라 때네 아니 코로나 속에 냠는지 두소야 되리 예제레 지단다 지준 젬바당 야와 젬바다 지준 젬베냐니야 콩디 가래라네 산예 점내디 손시베 산예 점내디 손시바 텔로 콩지 마송아레 지단 데니 인자 다가제데 돈다닝보 가르순 거라스네 장주 람런 디기 콩디 곰불루르다 파와토메 데네야 지준 젬베야 젬베양 데니 자와 산예 점내디 손 제산 조 상이 좀 자와 상이 좀 된들 손보 투 콩두 거 제산 상이 좀 된디기 손셰비기 남지 림바 냠는 기부 숨기 남지 림바 손야디 다하랑 마도 셴 로스 지어 말해셔지 남저 나로 손야기 기부 숨기 남지 림베 냠는 제 손야디 상이 좀 된디기 손셰비기 기부 숨기 남지 림베 냠는 제다디 주 뉴시의 손샤결에 제상 콩디디레스 제상 콩매바다 데니게 다가 소소랑 최최신의 시체가 말했다 스페 마시비 띵사보 콩 전부 시우치레스 제상 데니 인장 안 주기 람른 텔이야 퇴섬 곰숨 제바이나 아니 안 주기 상유 줌된디 손셰비 람냠리 림바 차사지 지투고레제
The purpose of Rinpoche composing this verse for us then was to continue the sequence that has he started with in the first verse up to now, to generate here in particular confidence in the Lamrim, as well as enthusiasm for it, and to give us thereby a great strength of mind, this enthusiasm will lead to a strength of mind, and this enthusiasm comes from confidence that this is something worthy of putting all our time and energy into. So Geshe Rinpoche here is making specific reference and praise for Nagarjuna and Asanga in the context of the Lamrim. And the Lamrim is praiseworthy because it combines all the trainings that are shared by spiritual practitioners of varying capacities, those shared with practitioners of initial capacity, those shared with the practitioners of intermediate capacity, and those that are unique to practitioners of greatest capacity. And these are all presented in the correct sequence of training that will lead to realization. And why the Lamrim here is the excellent lineage is being included in reference to Nagarjuna and Asanga, who are the banners of renown, is to show that Lama Atisha didn't just make this up. He has combined two complete and unmistaken lineages. So he didn't just make this up. He was combining these lineages that had come to him through the unbroken lineage of students that came from the great Indian masters of Nagarjuna and Asanga. So Nagarjuna and Asanga being lineage holders of the vast lineage and the profound lineage and the vast lineage, they taught this to their students and guided their students to gain realization of the entire Buddha Dharma, and thereby those students were qualified teachers to continue the lineage and pass it on to their own students. And in this way, it came to Lama Atisha, who has combined it into the supreme, the excellent lineage of the Lamrim. But this authentic lineage didn't start with Nagarjuna and Asanga, but went back to Manjushri and Maitreya. And Manjushri and Maitreya were direct students of Buddha Shakyamuni. So therefore, in this verse, Geshe Rinpoche is presenting why the Lamrim is an excellent lineage. It is an authentic lineage because it came from Buddha Shakyamuni in an unbroken lineage of realization based on knowledge, based on study, from Manjushri to Nagarjuna and all his students down to Atisha, from Buddha to Maitreya and all his students down to Asanga and Atisha. So in this way, we can have confidence in the Lamrim, and thereby, in dependence on this confidence, enthusiasm should be arising in our mind, and thereby, great strength of mind.
That Bendigo Jiangsu Lamrim said, Bendigo and the Kung Zempo, Bendigo Chire. Chise, Bendigo that Jerum Chekarusung was in me Lamrim Dudun Shea, Zawa Carres and the Jiangsu Lamrim de Res, Chesa, Digi Gomba di Ma, Medus Ma Shiki, so that Jiangsu Lamrim Nala Song Shiki Gomba, Computer and Dining Body Yang, Dude, Lamrim Nala, Ngay Shake, Lamrim Dudun Nalma, Disungi, Chesa. Ngay share the Kung Lung Mega, Ngay share the Kung Gawa towards Jancho Lamdun Kung to Gores, Chesa Jancho Lamdun Dige Ya Kung Gawas, San Yujim Dige, Soya de Kung to Chesa Dinenza, made the Jancho Lamdun Dudin share get Zawadi, Shung de Kawal Kung to Gores, Jancho Lamdun Kung to Jancho Lamdun Nalusumba Chimachi and those Chenmang, Mish, some years old.
Moreover, Geshe Rinpoche is presenting this to show that his text that we now are in the 6th verse of is also authentic because it comes from a genuine source, lamp on the path. So the songs of spiritual experience are authentic Buddha, teachings of the Buddha because they have as their root source the teachings of Buddha Shakyamuni that have been continued in an unbroken lineage of realization based on knowledge, from teacher to student, who in turn gained realization, became a qualified and authentic spiritual teacher, passed it on to their students, right through to Geshe Rinpoche, who also has given rise to realization of the Buddha Dharma, and thereby is an authentic source, authentic composer of this text.
lamrim tati duye se di sonya chasa nu zawi zawa di jancho lamrin chimbo le ya lamrin ma zawa che ni lamrin ma gongpa te chi ma sungko rwa de en ji du sum ju to ne du sin sungwa gyeba duba lamrin chimbo di gyeba rwa lamrin ding du du shirwa da di na de ya du shuo de da lamrim du den da di gi cik nyu yu ji la don da chasa du ma sonya di sungko rwa.
Here then, Rinpoche, in his brief Lamaram, the other name for this text, in his brief Lamaram, is showing how this is an authentic text because it comes from an authentic source, this unbroken lineage of realization. And we can understand that it doesn't only refer to the brief Lamaram, but also the middling Lamaram, as well as the vast Lamaram, or the Lamaram Chemo, the great Lamaram. All of these texts, this entire Lamaram tradition, have as their source Buddha Shakyamuni and this unbroken lineage of realization that continued to Geshe Rinpoche, the author of these texts.
And then Lamrim Sarajik Suna Digiri was Yerimche, then the Chembo said, and Ding said, and Dudu said, Sum was came into a Jik Sun Shan, and then Digid was Dunda Sunyagi, Dunda Jibar was, just not. Kasan janju lamren sonya ki kibu sumye lamye ba nyamne jetan sungor ba chembo na ne dire ding na dire chung na da din du na dire chisa nyamne je rimba jigba re sha chisa ya chembo ding chung yu sa de du sa de she was ka mindu wa si ka re kya ba yor samse yo se giru ba.
So here then one may wonder, Rinpoche did many amazing things. He was clearly wholly committed to the Dharma. He didn't hang out with time on his hands. So why did he take the time to write 3 texts? We've seen the Lamaram Chemo, it's a huge text, and the middle Lamaram too, its abbreviated version, and now the short one. If they have the same meaning, or as they have the same meaning, why did he write an expanded one, a condensed, and then a very brief one? What was the purpose of this?
Manzuke Semjenle, Jambatan, Tse Wanki, and Dela Tap Kebi on the Sungore Sonsoa, and Dinajin Jeremiche Dagarwa Janlia, and Givosumia Lamji Rimba de Marshalia, and Semjenle Dewa Digi Demba, the Dunga Jadu, Samba Tse Jambatan Tse Wanki. Just not Dela Tap Kebi on the Tap Kate on the Sungade, just Tap Kate on the Sungade.
Just like the Buddha, motivated by love and compassion, skillfully taught gave many different teachings, not just 1 or 2, in order to enable beings to achieve their full potential. Geshe Rinpoche, sharing this motivation of love and compassion, utilized the same skillful means of presenting composing different texts so as to benefit all sentient beings.
Tagarelana, Bene Mikashele, Yorba, Kashele, Dusu, Dusu, Manga, Jayag, Dumba, Dunyarda, Dumba, Juni, Jayag, Dunyag, Dumba, Yetik, Dusu, Hule, Mamma, you can Zolia, Jashu Lamri Chembo, Chikosu, Java, Chicolia, and Mamu Jayag, Dusu Bache. Now Kashia, the negi, Chu, Junimura, the negi Dusu, Dangi Mevada, and Jan, the negi Dorduci, Jawashuan about, you know, back Alejandro something dinner, you can not do Sian Jigma, Munich, and Lemon Ting and such. That the nigger Ting the young the Jayag go up to suit Madawa, to suit Madawa, and the nigger Unibucha go up Merasolia, that they need to do Chunchuchik, Lemon Dudic, Chunchuchik. The Dondach Hasan, Bochazan, Dondachi but how they in the Dudic. So Jeza come down, Merba, do suit down, and the nigger Tapka Tochi Tony, and Lucine. Chemboda, Jingda, Java, Tingche, Dudici, some so I did.
For those students who have a deep enthusiasm for the Dharma, as well as time to explore their enthusiasm, Geshe Rinpoche composed this amazing text, the Lamaram Chemo, the great Lamaram. But for others who may have the enthusiasm but lack the time, or who have the time but lack the enthusiasm and look at a text like that and say, oh, this is a bit daunting, this is too much. He composed a condensed version, the middling Lamaram. And again, for those for whom time is really short, they have very little spare time, he composed this briefest of lamrims, the Song of Spiritual Experience. So therefore, motivated by love and compassion, but taking into account the varying situations of beings, or to express it differently, the various personalities. So yeah, their enthusiasm for the Dharma, or their various life circumstances that lead to the amount of time they have on their hands. Geshe Rinpoche composed these varying lamrim texts.
And Geshe Rabten numbu yago numbu nyemane chik suenam yago yugenzolia je mangbu xie mo che nyung ji chik nyung ji xeban duanda chasan dina yedige chik nyung xeban duanda chasan lamsa hago duanda gotu gore chasan konzolia chik mangbu jego xigo xie na xie kwayo ma dine yenza dine ge wongbu numbu ane ribo yago ane chik dine ge yago 신예기 누버 유견설이야 다 충쇼디 람림 뒤된데 마 송시 지산 디네 송요데 디니기 람림 뒤된데 바로어도 차상 기고 숨이 람이름 바냐 냠네 차상다 하고 두고로와 디네 인자 거도 뒤뒤시 소래 다 디네기 뒤뒤 송반나 제삼게 하고 마투겐 떠서 갸쳐지는 시고야지 용구로와 디네들라 딩디 소바래 딩디 다 디네 딩디라 데슬라 야고 하고 데레 저 There's what you're about Chibena, that Delia Nimambo dancing, Duziring Boots and Java, Java Shuch and Atisha Jaggy and Shawach Shagurwa, Denigi Rictella, Champot Saja. Jazan, Wombo, Duja, Yamlenji, Lamri, Kivosum, Lamiri, and Yamlenji, Hengi, Wombo, Nombo, Be Yapo Yuganzola, Dudichi soon. Delia does God Dingling della, Lamrim Ding this, and Delia does Gachawa. Yaba does relating share Gohanzola and Chimbo says, Denjiza, Kivosumi, Lamrin, Yamlejigan, Wombo, Nombo, Ding, Chimbo Sumimurua, Consola Dene, Wombo, Nombo della, Lamrim Dudin song, the Wombo Ding della, Lamrim Ding the song, there's della, Wombo Joa della, and the Gaso Lamrim Chimbo song. Deniji, called Menigi, Yamlen Jagangi, Kamna Mebo, Wombo, doing Jene, Denima, Son Shagor.
A further way to understand why Geshe Rinpoche composed these varying texts is, again, those with great enthusiasm for the Dharma and time to delve into the profundity of its meaning and the vastness of the presentation, the great Lamrim Chemo was composed, or the great Lamrim, the Lamrim Chemo was composed. For those who have very sharp intelligence and a huge store of merit behind them, such beings, for them, a brief explanation such as we find here in our text can lead to the profound realization. So through receiving a teaching on this short 45-verse text, they are able to gain realization of the practices that are shared with a practitioner of initial capacity, as well as the practices that are shared with a practitioner of intermediate capacity, as well as those unique to practitioners of greatest capacity. So for such practitioners with great intelligence and vast stores of merit behind them, this shortest lamrim, the Song of Spiritual Experience, is ideal. Those of middling intelligence, middling merit, for them, a brief text like this will not lead to realization. They need something more profound, something more expansive, such as the middling lamrim. So this is a further way to understand why Geshe Rinpoche composed these varying lamrim texts.
Oh yeah, I didn't. I Janju lamrim di ane Geshe lamne. ane chige rinpoche nane, chasan nane, rinpoche nane zo jebo na shiri sayada be. Dan jiyang bine janshu lamren chenpo di bine nga zo gyaso na shiri sayada. Peko ho kisho ni shege shi sungu warda. Chisan dine genza di maa sonya di disi warda de donda dire. Gigu dode malu gongwe na damba rinche wange jebo de shunsan tonggu chuo duyu chir Balen lebar shebe gyasong yin se warda, janshu lamringi kisho yin shi war kisho dinde yore zade.
In the 7th verse, further praise is offered to the Lamrim tradition, comparing it to the most precious of jewels, the greatest of oceans. Since it fulfills the entirety of sentient beings' wishes, it is the wish-fulfilling jewel amongst all precious spiritual instructions. Since it gathers into it thousands of rivers of exceptional treatises, it is also an ocean of glorious and eloquent explanations.
나당보 기구되디 말류 공회나 지사 다 문이진데 담바리지 뭔가 개보대서 지사 장수 람런디 림보치 나네 림보다 징이버딩에 쉬셔야 담바리지 뭔가 개보대서 돼 가르송으로서네 지사 나 저기 림보치에서 돼 릭망보에 림보치 나네다고 자체쇼디다 도지 팔람가도 대사인데 도지 팔람 자체쇼라지 지산 내내기 림보치 자 첨부 쉬우자 델라 림보치 델라 때네 가르 연구를서네 나 저기 고야기 사야 동야 고야 두로 나 저기 체디기 되든 주비야 안 자사직 림보치데 바 배셔 땅와 용 투고로와 안 디나시 당 저기 기고스데 아주 되든데 가래랍데 담보치디 기고 되든 말려 공와 이스데 아 저기 기고라는 아 저기 가르 뒤고래서는 누가 뒤고 말했을 때와 뒤고래지래 그래서 안에 가르 뒤고서 가시게다 오보 너뒤터네 가시기 기어와치마 하다 미고 방다 냐와디 이다 dunro딜레 누가들라 타르제 내래 안 원뒤고 방 토야게 뒤고래서 가시네 딱 콜위 누가 타다래 타르제네 아니 타르바세야 도와주고 그랬어 아니 양 리버델에 야가주네 샘전 탐저 코위 누가 타라 타제 야 산지 고바 도와주고 그랬어 제상한도 기기 되든데 가르스네 기부숨이 람니 좀 받잖아 깨워치마 하다 누가게 타제 기워치다 하다 미고 봐도 원디고 봐 되고 그랬어 아니 코위 누가 타달래 자해지네 탈배고 봐 되고 그랬어 아니 녀모 디바 바샤다 제바 잔데 샘전 탐제기도 나나 산주고 버터버 되고 그러지 기기 되든이 뒤에서 되비 고야 돈다지를 고야기 안디 마세 안 체디점 삼나 체딜이야 동아세야다 수체디기리 디기 주야기 장아주기다 기기 되든이 뒤에서 기기 되든 다디 되는데 말려봐 공화에서 되는 공원랍데 돈다디 주바데 시고로 와다 주고 그랬어 제가 되고 공고래서 간스 공고래 람나 제가 개와치마 람 하다 미고바 토에게 토부도 선배 돈이 듬바이 될이야 예외 간송의 동안에 타르지니 하다 미고바 토부도 선배이나 딘 냠는 제대로 토에게 탑라 림바디 람른 나라 손샤여레스 제가 람른 나 손바나 신제네 딘 냠소 림바이나 제가 개와치마 간송의 게 뭐가지 하다 미고바 토투어레스 지산 되된 공화세요 직제 다 직네 다 거기 동안 타다래 타르제 타르바이 공화 토구도 삼바이나 냠는지게 되는게 돈을 좀 냠는 제바이나 디 냠는지다 토베에게 탑라리바 찾아 람르나 송샤야 됐어 지난 람르나 소바 나신 저소소에 냠는 제바이나 타르바이 공화 토구어레스 지산 되된 공화세요 공고래제 다 디나제 샘장 탐지게도 나 산조 공화 토구도 샘비게 토바 나신 돈을 좀 냠는 제바이나 디 냠는 제 탑람디 람르나 송샤바 지산 람르나 송샤바 지다와 신도 한 냠는 제바이나 한 산요고 톱투고래 지산 디니 인자 람른 디 냠는 제바나 기기 되된 차상 툭투고래스 디 인장 자주 람른 디 담바스드 하죠 담가 람 냠는 탈바 탑지게 토베 담가게 나니 담가디 초도 규바들이스 초도 담가데 약효 예보나 예보들이스 초도 규바들이스 디나지 린시봉의 기 림보치나데 초도 규바나지 다 담가 초도 규바들이스 그래서 델라 때네 기위 되된 차상 죽두고도 와서 그래
Since it fulfills the entirety of sentient beings' wishes, it is the wish-fulfilling jewel amongst all precious spiritual instructions. So in our world, many things are valued. But what is generally valued in the world, such as whether it's diamonds or another form of wealth, this can only lead to some temporary fulfillment of material comfort and maybe some temporary worldly happiness as well, such as not having to worry about being able to feed oneself and one's family, and as well as to gain respect from others and so forth. But it's very temporary and really, from our perspective of the Buddha Dharma, not really even worthy of being called precious. Rather, and the reason is not such things are not worthy of being called precious is they do make so little impact on what we truly value, which is the attainment of lasting, stable happiness, a happiness that's completely freed from all suffering, pain, and misery. Whereas on the other hand, the teachings of the Buddha Dharma do that. And amongst the teachings of the Buddha Dharma, or the many precious spiritual instructions, that which is supreme, that which is the jewel that fulfills all wishes of sentient beings, is the lamp on the path, is the Lamrim tradition. And why so? Well, it fulfills all the wishes of sentient beings, their true innermost wishes, whether they're aware of them or not. No being, whether they accept future lives or not, wants to be born in the suffering lower realms. The lamp on the path presents the complete and unmistaken practices to train so as to achieve good rebirths and thereby fulfill the wishes of beings. Moreover, all beings, whether having come to recognize it or not, long for lasting, stable happiness, a happiness freed from suffering, liberation from all states of suffering. And the lamp for the path, again, contains a complete and unmistaken trainings to fulfill that wish of beings, to achieve liberation, to achieve nirvana. Moreover, there are those greatest of beings who take it upon themselves to be an instrument to fulfill the wishes of all sentient beings, to become a Buddha for their sake. And the lamp for the path to enlightenment presents the complete and unmistaken practices in the correct sequence to train oneself in to achieve enlightenment. So this is how we understand that through the lamp for the path to enlightenment, the lamp for the path to enlightenment fulfills the entirety of sentient beings' wishes. And therefore the lamp, is the wish-fulfilling jewel amongst all precious spiritual instructions.
담바린지 원게 예보레스 데 림보체 네 원게 예보 아니 담바림보체스 데 담바림보체스 데 림보체랍데 자치 모습으로 베 린낭 첨보 게 첨보 자치 모습으로 저자 람든세 데 담마베 마스 자첨보 아니 린낭 첨보 자첨보 슈지 예스 저자 자첨보 망부 예배나네 디나네 조 예보디 조디레스 저산디 인비 김장 가려랍나 나 저기 디기 주에 동화세계 쪼디 가서 탈바다 탐지 김벽 고마 토야 되러 왔어. 저산 탈바다 탐지 김벽 고마 토바나 가서 뒤된 차사 띵기 대화 툭툭고 그랬어. 저산 상지 고마 토바나 띵기 대화랑 맞아 신 심절라 판도 체긴 지부치 투고 딜레 하바 상지 고마 딜레 하바지 요 말했어. 저산 디 토백에 탑름 차산데 람런 나로 손셔봐서 람런 세야디 담하기 예보다 담학 림부치 나 림부치 예보들이 사지 그 예보 인비 금제데 다디 기우기 되든 자치쇼데 가서 탈바 탐지 김보고 봐 니토베 탈름 차산디나 땜바인자 만다디 약쇼들이 와서 그러다.
To add further meaning, this term we have translated as wish-fulfilling jewel is not the common word for wish-fulfilling jewel, the usual word. It actually has two ways it can be translated, either as the wish-fulfilling jewel or as the most precious of all kings. So it can be understood in both ways. The meaning, though, comes down to the same. If the Buddha Dharma is likened to a king, that which is most valuable, that which is most precious, is this teaching. If the Buddha Dharma is likened to jewels, that which fulfills all wishes is this text. So whether we can refer to or relate to the text, whether it's the king amongst all the teachings is the lamp on the path, or the crown jewel, the jewel amongst, or the wish-fulfilling jewel amongst all the jewels of the text of the Buddha Dharma, is the lamp for the path to enlightenment. And this is so because it presents in this clear sequence what our current situation is. It presents a clear situation to identify our current situation, as well as how to expand our mind and enable us to come to identify the true cause of all our suffering, as well as how to eliminate the cause of all our suffering. And moreover, how through this process we can be of true benefit to others. In this way, the lamp contains the complete and unmistaken trainings to the path to enlightenment. Hence, it's likened to the king amongst all teachings, or the wish-fulfilling jewel amongst the jewels of all teachings.
나야 장주 람르 쳔보디 람드엔디 당아 저기 기wo 숨기 기wo 동화세다 디기 주비에 탑람게 람 냠린 땡셰비 땡비기 다 야소나시레스 다 땡비 야소레스 야소레 라이도고 다 람드 코랑 야소레스 그래 가르 야소레 랍나 디나데게 기wo 충우다 징다 쳔보다 심제 탐지 동화세비게 탑람 디기주비에 탈음 차사 디나도 여바로와 진짜 야소레스. តែ야소 인비 김제러시고 당보 숑사 동규 주어 뒤비치르서다. 세상 숑사 동규 주어 뒤비치랍데 숑상 세디 숑사 동랍데 다상계당 아니 야하기 번주 상계유 송셰비端나로 송셰비 기부 네 셈제유 동화세 디기르 탑람 람 냠렌체 송샤베기 데니교 공제 다 야하르 케비 gon namki gongpa zhe xabada. Mbu yi kheba nanki gongpa zhe ne kibu chi lam nyamlen che ki rinpa chasa chik di nade du yo res, da lamdun nade du xa res. Chasa chuo du bi chi res. Da nga zogi namgi na da pel chabayi na chu chasa da nga zogi gyukshu chasa nga tamma la gyaso na du shen gyaso na du go res. Di na shin da gyabe ki khebe ki kibu sumi lam yi rinpa manawa chasa wa chike chasa dina ye lamdren nalu du yores jiza lamdren na du ba yenzang du ne song sha de jiza dini yenzang ba den le par shi be kya so re jiza ba den se du be cho du gyu ba lam nyamlen ji gyu cho du gyu ba ma no wa ma chu ba le par shi ma song du be ge song be ge kya so de res lamdren de jiza ne lamdren res this all that.
The verse concludes, since it gathers into it thousands of rivers of exceptional treatises, it is also an ocean of glorious and eloquent explanations. So here the Lamrim is likened to a great ocean. And it's likened to a great ocean in that it has an ocean is fed by many rivers. And here these rivers are all the exceptional treatises, as well as which are the texts composed by the great Indian masters, as well as it includes the sutras, which are the source of those great treatises composed by the exceptional Indian masters. And we, from our perspective, can also include the subsequent commentaries that were composed by great masters in Tibet as well. And so here, with the gathering together in the Lamrim tradition, this ocean that is the Lamrim tradition, gathering together these streams of sutras and their commentaries by great masters from India and from Tibet, we have a tradition which presents the correct and unmistaken trainings in the sequence that is in accordance with being's individual spiritual capacity. In other words, first the training shared with practitioners of initial capacity. Thereafter, the trainings shared for practitioners of intermediate capacity. So these trainings come about independent on the cultivation of the prior trainings, and independent on both of the first those initial trainings, thereafter the intermediate trainings, independence on that cultivation, comes the presentation of the trainings for those practitioners of greatest capacity. So for this reason, the Lamrim tradition, or in particular this text, the root text for what we're studying here, the lamp on the path, this is seen as an ocean fed by these rivers of the sutras and all their commentaries from the great Indian, as well as we can understand it also from Tibetan masters. And thereby we have great confidence in this Lamrim tradition as presented here.
An bui keba chasangi da lam kibu sumi lam gi rimba simje dunga da drawe tablam da digi dubi gi talan tarba tamje kimbe tabla tuen shebi chasan donda ningbo di du shin ba lamren na la song sha de chasan lamren ne nyamren cheba na chasangi de ne song ba chasan de donda da ho tu go chasan lamren de ne shi song yo re chasan da lamren di de ne ge nga zo lam nyamren che gi rimba ten ba na de chang la ma no wa chasan ten de ba 도당 아다 기부 중요 남이림바 동아 차상 창라 만노 덴바자 니다 림보체 기보드레스 진짜 되네 인상 나중에 람렌들이야 퇴섬 곰숨 제화데 에 계신 뭐 슈레스 되네 제바이나 나중에 땅 나중에 심전 차상 수인에다 디기고를 동아 조고 동아를 탈고 진짜 동아의 주위에 탑람다 디기 주위에 탑람디 nga ji xiong mong bo jia qi ma da mo ji lam rim du du qi na de ne ma tue som gom so qi nyam len che bai na an de ha gu tu gu le ji za de ne ge je bai na nga ji de 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 ji ji wi de ma lu tu bi qi ra wa gong ge se de nga ji de de tar ba tham chi ni be ga de to gu na to de ge gu long ge don don ye qi nyam len che bai ne don da tu gu le ji za de ne ge nyam len che wa de be ma se ge qi mo shi gu le ji za da lam ren se de be ma se ge de shi da 조치기 차상 송셰베 대야의 콩 지기야 공부루릅당 바바토메 대야의 제준 잠바다 개와 잠바 또 상유 점된들의 투제네 자유의 상유 점된들의 투제 상유 점된디게 탑론 떼제 공부 지신 제마 지신의 람르나 송요래 제산당한테 람르인데 진짜 제바 냠는 제바데 배마지 기침벌에 해야지 안 뒤야데 징아듯이 개위 신인 야부지 떼지 개위 신인 야부때 되는 개위 신인 전에 야바 냠는 제다 장네 도시고래세제 당한 저기 내내 제바이나 아주이네 안탈바다 탐지 김고 투구레스 동아세 투구레 디기 투구레 송거다 제름 징아서 랍질 마서나 다 디교인 거래.
The purpose of having composed this text was that Geshe wanted to emphasize the great value of the Lamrim tradition. He's doing this at the outset of his text to generate a confidence in the Lamrim tradition in the minds of his students. And he's doing so by reminding his students that the entire variety of teachings that came from the Buddha, both the sutras and tantras, as well as the many commentaries by the great masters of India. And again, from our perspective, we can include the subsequent great masters of Tibet. The essence of that meaning is included within the Lamrim tradition. It was brought to Tibet in the teaching that became the text, Lamp on the Path, and is being commented on here. So in this way, we can understand that all the trainings that are in accordance with the beings of various spiritual capacities, initial, intermediate, and supreme, as well as the reference to the teachings of Tantra, are included here in the Lamrim tradition. So this is done so as to generate confidence in these teachings. And confidence is required because what Geshe Rinpoche is encouraging us to do is to change what we value. He's encouraging us, or giving us the strength of mind that we require to be able to transform what we value, to no longer be overcome by distraction to mundane activities, to no longer be overcome by distraction to mundane pleasures and problems. Rather, he's encouraging us or guiding us to generate confidence and strength of mind and enthusiasm so that our mind can become rather wide and expansive, no longer narrow and dominated by mundane pleasures and problems, but wide and expansive with a far-sighted outlook. And this is required because it's through transforming our attitude that we will be able to fulfill the hopes and aspirations of all sentient beings. And to do so, as we saw in the preceding verse, we need to rely on a spiritual teacher, receive repeatedly over a sustained period teachings from him, repeatedly over a sustained period reflect on them, and repeatedly over a sustained period meditate on them. And this is the process that will bring about our inner transformation and thereby fulfill all the hopes and wishes of all sentient beings. And this comes from us changing our values right now, no longer being overcome by distractions to things of no value, but rather changing our outlook, changing our values, and putting great energy into the trainings presented here.
Denigeda janchu lamren said, Master Denigi za chimbo shu, Chida, Sanji yu sonyata, Denigi duen chasa nimbo duduba shu, Chiresha, Simpe Master za chimbo Chiresha, Samje, Delia, that Denigi lamrem chik machane deda, tab minu sempigi, to Dunyer Dumbo shu shimbo gene, Yada, and the other Delia, and Tersam Konsakang to the chicken sempigeta, Simshu Kiechan, Jegi, Yamlen Jegi, and Sempig Jedo, Go to Yadi. Gechimbo chada samladirwa deni zada anzuki ndo chine da denigi nyamnen cheba ina da mazo tarbata tamchikin be goba chasan garu tobena top 2 re sembege da sosugi ichi jede dosi nyamnen jeda delege nyamnen jelia da susurana ge lada lama da idamliya anu sodip jeda ani jigan anzuki da che jike di nyamne yapo yoye tanda la nga tsuki da chebo puya la sopa tang ane jiki kiawa saya dipa sachang saya dipa jaya tang kiawa saya la sopa kanto chiyo chiye di ane yechi mo cha gore che da dirin shogo ki da lupsan tine che da nyingung yablo yang dagara mudu che ane jansho lamrin de la da de kieshu nyi she chira rinche wang yebo taburi ne jaso taburi esen kieshu nyi da nyingung yablo de ma yang chewa shida tenpa se kishu shi ondin shiyore se di korma shiyo she kishu chewa shida tenpa se chiyore da jizan kishu shi chewa shida tenpa se di korma shiyo she.
To conclude then our session together, here Rinpoche reminded us of the tremendous benefits that has come to us and the great potential that lies before us through the incomparable activities of a great expanse of lifetimes of firstly Buddha Shakyamuni, and then the entire lineage that came down through him, through Maitreya and Nasanga, down to Atisha, and Manjushri and Nagarjuna, down to Atisha. Moreover, he then reminds us of the tremendous kindness of their endeavors and the great benefit that has come to us through meeting the Lama tradition, and thereby to know that the great benefit, that the great transformative effect that awaits us. And he encourages us here through reminding us of the great transformative effect that awaits before us, to generate a strong conviction within ourselves that we will commit what remains of this life, both in thought and in action, to strive to achieve liberation and enlightenment, because all the trainings presented here in the Lama tradition are the authentic trainings of the Buddha that will lead to full enlightenment. So here we're being encouraged that in our daily practice, having generated faith in this way, to make supplications to our Lama, to our Yidam, that our spiritual training goes well, that we give rise to minds of the Buddha Dharma within us, that in every activity, verbal and physical, that awaits us, that we will engage in over the day, may our mind always be on the Dharma, that we ensure our speech and our behavior is always in accordance with the Dharma. And having generated the strong conviction and request to our Lama and Yidam for our training, our meditation, our study to go well, we then can engage in activities such as making offerings or confession and so forth. So that's in brief what we looked at this morning. This afternoon we'll continue and with the next verse, and here we will look at the 4 great qualities of the Lama tradition. So thank you very much.